Maki and Mai Zenin, the cursed twins who face off in Jujutsu Kaisen's 4th arc, the Kyoto Goodwill Event, are direct foils for one another, but they aren't the only ones. During my first read-through of this arc, I was too distracted by the glorious friendship of Todo and Yuji to realize how nearly every pairing, from Panda and Makimaru to Megumi and Camo, are set up as dark reflections of one another. In a storyline filled with so many new characters that focuses on the reintroduction of Yuji to the main cast and a battle with a special grade cursed spirit, why did Gege choose to put so much emphasis on Maki and Mai? I believe it's because their conflict is central to understanding what separates strong and weak sorcerers. Let's back up a step and recap what we know about these two sisters before the Goodwill event. Maki Zenin is one of the best characters in all of Jujutsu Kaisen, full stop. She's been a mainstay of the series since Volume 0, where we learn she's the black sheep of her powerful family, who is looked down on because she lacks cursed energy and relies on tools to combat curses. Her reintroduction into the story only served to enhance an already layered personality, where she takes on a mentorship role for the first years and essentially serves as the leader of the Tokyo students. In a surprise reveal, we are then introduced to Mai, and she comes off as a horrible person, mocking Yuji's death, beating Kugasaki, and trying to make Maki feel small. The sister we are supposed to root for is clear, which means Gege's scheme worked. As the Goodwill event unfolded, we learned more about Mai and what drives her cruelty toward Maki, yet she is still painted as the antagonist who needed to be defeated. Why does the story want us to sympathize with Mai and still root against her? In our search for that answer, let's take a look at the #1 in-universe Mai sympathizer. Momo has a dope design, but she really just serves the purpose of explaining a SparkNotes version of Mai and Maki's backstory to try and score some strange sympathy points from Kugasaki. Notably, Kugasaki doesn't give a shit about that at all. It's this battle that lays out exactly how we should view Mai in the context of her shared past with Maki, but it also points to an undercurrent that unites all the fights throughout the Goodwill event. Maki and Mai grew up in the same circumstances, but Kugasaki likes Maki because of how she behaves today. Mai's bad attitude and actions shouldn't just be forgiven because she's had it tough. At the end, Kugasaki gets the upper hand on Momo, tells the witch to stop making excuses, and declares that she's Nobara Kugasaki. This moment is everything. The way this fight played out wasn't constructed just because Kugasaki needed a big scene. This is a clear window into one of the core themes of this arc, and Jujutsu Kaisen at large. A strong sense of self is what defines the strength of a sorcerer, and is what separates all the foils in this arc from one another. To better understand how this concept is implemented in the series, and why it defines the difference between Maki and Mai, let me ask you a simple question. What kind of girls do you like? As bizarre of a moment as that was, the answers provided are what made Todo dislike Megumi, whereas he developed a bond that broke the space-time continuum with Yuji. That's because Todo is a walking, talking pile of self-actualized confidence who brings everything to his existence in this world and serves this arc as a judge of others' senses of self. Megumi's answer was that he didn't have a preference. Yuji's answer was straight to the point. While having the exact same taste is what formed their brotherly bond, if Yuji had said anything else just as directly, then Todo still would have respected the answer. This is the first hint at a true difference between the two leads of this series, but the point is made explicitly clear by the end. Throughout the Goodwill event, Megumi saw how Yuji has grown and continues to grow, both as a person and in his power as a sorcerer. Those are inextricably connected. You cannot grow as one without growing as the other. After the event, a bedridden Megumi states that weak sorcerers don't have a sense of self. In order for him to get stronger and surpass Yuji, he will need to work on his mindset. Guess who shows up here? It's Mr. Assman himself, who praises Megumi's proclamation, emphasizing the point for the audience. Yep, time for that pretentious definition thing dorks do. As defined by the American Psychological Association, a sense of self is an individual's feeling of identity, uniqueness, and self-direction. Every single fight in the Goodwill event comes down to the combatant's sense of self. This isn't something new to the series either. Back in Volume 0, during the climactic battle, Geto comments to Yuta that self-actualization is the most important thing in life. That's all to say, in the context of Jujutsu sorcerers, their power is strongly connected to self-identity. Let's take a look at some of the fights to see how Gege puts this concept to work. The easiest battle to see this in action is Panda versus Makimaru. Similarly to how Kugasaki called out Momo, Makimaru gets called out for moaning about his sob story. He is a man in a tough situation, inflicted with a heavenly restriction he didn't ask for, power that he'd willingly throw away for a chance at a normal life. He gets deeply angry at being compared to Panda, a cursed corpse, and belittles his existence throughout their battle. Rather than accepting his circumstances, Makimaru lashes out at others in a jealous rage. He lacks a strong feeling of self-direction, longing for a life that he does not have. Panda, on the other hand, recognizes what makes him unique and likes others because of their differences. Where Makimaru feels ashamed of his appearance, Panda is comfortable in his own skin. I mean, we even get a quick flashback of Todo scolding Makimaru for not being able to quickly state the type of girls he likes. Checkmate. It's unsurprising that Panda is the victor. With Megumi and Camo, the story gets a bit more complicated. As we discussed, Megumi feels he doesn't have a strong sense of self by the end of this arc. His battle with Camo is also the only one aside from Todo versus Yuji that doesn't have a clear winner, but I think through small character moments, the story makes it clear who has the stronger sense of self and who would have been the winner. Chapter 44 begins with a look at Camo's defining conflict, his mother's treatment by his great family, and his rise to be its heir. He goes on to declare that he intends to kill Yuji, not on the principal's orders, but because he believes it's the right decision as a member of the Camo family. There's more hinted at under the surface, but it's clear he's playing the part of heir with a purpose. It's for his mother's sake. Ironically, the biggest hint at who would have been the victor comes when Camo tells Megumi that they're the same. This may seem like a random call-out, but Megumi's response matters. Just like he did with Todo, he stumbles over his beliefs. He provides a response, then apologizes for it, and amends his response. He has a decent sense of self, but it takes him a while to find the point he wants to make. The fight would have been a close one, but Camo would have been the winner. Before things go off the rails, the conflict between Maki and Mai is the climax of the actual Goodwill event. As such, this is where the concept of what makes a sorcerer strong is officially laid out, but it also hammers home what makes one weak. Before the fight comes to its conclusion, the audience is shown the twins' shared past, which explains the divergent paths each one took. Growing up as servants to the head of the family, Maki was always the fearless one, whereas Mai was anxious and relied on her sister for help. When Maki grew up, she left the Zenin family with the goal of one day returning as its head. As a result, the current head decided to make Maki and Mai's lives more difficult, but Mai was already comfortable living a life of menial tasks without any grandeur. It's Maki's ambition that not only drove Mai from her preferred lifestyle, but thrust her into a world without any family, causing her life to go into a perceived ruin. Maki didn't do this intentionally, but her ambition did have ramifications on her sister. With this backstory laid out, we come back to the same question from the beginning. Why does the story punish Mai, paint her as the antagonist, and ultimately have her lose to Maki? It has nothing to do with their past. Just as Kugasaki said, it's all about the present. Unfortunately, Mai is a person who is stuck in the past. The reason she hates her sister is because she feels she was abandoned. It's here that Mai clarifies what Maki has that she doesn't is her heavenly restriction, the source of her inhuman abilities, but Mai misunderstands the actual situation. Mai never wanted to be a Jujutsu sorcerer. She didn't see anything wrong with the life of servitude that they shared growing up. After being defeated, all Mai's bluster and arrogance faded away. With nothing else left, she demanded to know why Maki left her, why she didn't fall down the hole with her. Mai is meant to be pitied here, not because of the circumstances of her life, but because she doesn't understand how to move on and better herself. After all this time, rather than trying to step into the future, she still longs to fall down the metaphorical hole. She wants to give up on any ambition, to succumb to a numbness in life that doesn't require hardship or growth. She has no sense of self-direction, merely wallowing in her misfortune. Although Maki's selfish actions led to Mai's suffering, the story makes it clear that Maki is not to blame. She did what the optimal sorcerer should have done, pursued a more fulfilling life that's true to herself. While Momo can try to find the Zenin twins by their sad backstory, Kugasaki, and by extension Gege, make it clear that doesn't matter. It's only their outlook and behavior in the present that matters when it comes to being a stronger Jujutsu sorcerer. Those without a sense of self do not belong in the Jujutsu world. That is the entire purpose of the Goodwill event, to show the importance of developing as a person and a sorcerer. Maki is the epitome of strength, Mai is the epitome of weakness. That is the defining story of the Zenin twins.